Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kodash. Shalom to the hopefully elect out there. I'm gonna try to make this a quick video, unless the spirit jumps on me. So the title of this video is "Thine Enemies Shall Cast a Trench About Thee." Thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee. What does that mean? Luke 19, verse 43. And if you know what it means, this is a good question to ask a Christian. When a Christian rolls up and they claim, you ask them, if you know, do you know the scriptures? Oh yeah, I know the scriptures. I read it 25 times. Are you familiar with the Old Testament? Yes. New Testament? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question and see if you know the scriptures. Give me Luke 19:43. What does that mean? If they're well-studied Christian historians, you know, these Christian apologists and these Christian professors of theological cemeteries, and they write books, they'll give you the right answer. They'll tell you it's 70 AD when Titus came against, put a wall around the city Jerusalem, which is called the siege. That's somebody that's really knows the scriptures and links the history up with the scriptures. Now, some regular Christian, could be a pastor or whatever, could be somebody that's been in the church for a number of years, and I'm talking about Esau, because Jake don't study any fucking way. They're clueless when it comes. It's like giving a nigga a map that can't read, because they don't read the scriptures. So, like I said, if you ask someone that's well studied in the scriptures, link up the history with the scriptures, they'll give you the right answer. But the average Christian or even pastor, you know what, they'll probably say, well, that's talking about the Antichrist. And you can laugh at them. But anyway, so it says here, let me start at the 42nd verse, Luke 19:42, and I'm going to go into the commentary, saying, if thou hadst, see, if you go up above that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this here. Triumphal entry. Matthew 21, verse 1 to 11. And when they drew nigh to Jerusalem and were Bethphage unto the Mount of Olives, sent two disciples, saying, go into the village again, straightway ye shall find an ass tied and a colt with her, loose them. So if you read all of it from the first verse to 11th verse, it goes into the Lord coming in on an ass and an ass colt. Donkey, so you can understand. So let's go to Mark 11, verse 1. It says, so it says here, triumphal entry. So now with General Netanyahu, he went back to he went back to his old name, which is in the Lashawan Kodash, the Paleo Hebrew. So there was a change at that Passover, which he was holding it on the wrong day anyway. He was holding it. I'm not saying he should have held it the same time that we held it, but he held it on the wrong time of the month. He held it on the actual new moon. Because they go, like I said, as you know, they say when the full moon comes in, that's the new moon. So 14 days at evening, which is 2 weeks, would be the first the first of the year, the first new moon of the year, which brings in spring, is a Passover. So you go by the new moon, and then you would count 14 days at even going to the 15th day. That's the Passover. The way you keep it properly is when you keep that day and you look up into the sky, there's supposed to be a full moon up there, not a new moon, not a dark moon. So Yahweh by Shema Shai is not fully dealing with him, because the Most High would show him that he's going off on that. And he recently went into that back in 2016. Prior to that, set up IUIC 2003. From 2003 to 2015, he was going by the new moon, the way by the dark moon. They even did classes on it. Even Vocab Malone exposed them on it, showed them back in, I don't know, 2012 or whatever. They had two individuals explain that the new moon is when the moon is dark, but then 2016, at that time he was, I believe he was Elder Nathaniel, and maybe he was Bishop, I don't know. So he got up one morning and he said, well, you know what? The new moon is the full moon. And he had problems trying to push it to his fellow leadership. It was he mentioned two individuals. He mentioned Bishop Kanai as his title goes, and Deacon Frost. I mean Deacon Ayathon, and they couldn't see it. They like, nah, we ain't seen that shit. But then they eventually saw it. So I don't know what happened, behind the scenes. But anyway, on his Passover, which he performed it the wrong day of the month, that was he was pretty much, when he came in on the horse, that's what you call a triumphal entry. Where the people, and what in him doing that, it stirred the emotions. You do things to stir the emotions of people. It's a saying, pulling at the heartstrings. You have like a little baby crying, find out that his mother died in a car accident, and then you have the music in the background. You might be playing adagio for strings. Look that up. Adagio for strings in the background. And you see the kid crying. You find out his mother died in a car accident. His father consoling him, and you hear the slow music in the background. It's gonna make you cry, even though it's a movie. The actors are cut. Next scene. That ain't even his mother. But so that's what the leadership at the IUIC did, was they stirred the emotions. Oh, he must be a man of God. The Lord he came in on a horse. No other camp did that. He's truly, matter of fact, one of the brothers in my camp works with another dude from the IUIC that got the juicy juice, and he's still there. And he said, well, why wasn't Tahar on the horse on the Passover? And then the brother said that that dude that took the juicy juice, he didn't even show up at the Passover. So he's like a casual member of the Passover. So he got caught up in that emotion. He truly must be a man of God. But now, that the scriptures say, shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory, right? So that melee that took place was that pushed all that triumphal entry, out the way. People are questioning are these guys right, man? They held these guys down for the cops. Then they helped them, handcuff them and get them arrested and shit. You know what 1 Corinthians 6 chapter says? First 5 or 6 verses. I went through it the other day. But anyway, see, that whole triumphal entry was all put to shame by this incident that took place. Like I said, I don't know who was there first. From what I heard, now I know I did some little checking and I found out that IUIC was there a month ago. So I don't know if they come there once in a while. I don't know if sometimes ISUPK is there, sometimes they're not, sometimes IUIC. But I hadn't seen a video of ISUPK out there. But from what I'm hearing is that that's ISUPK's camp. So if the IUIC came up next to him, and then I heard that the speaker was pointed to them, that was clearly to provoke, which was wicked all the way around. Which was wicked all the way around. You know, it also says in 1 Corinthians 6, why not take wrong? I believe the statement is, why not take wrong or why not take low? But the word there is wrong, because I did a video on that as well. So somebody should have said, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. Here you got people coming to listen to IUIC, and they're being drowned out by ISUPK. Or you got people, on the other hand, coming to listen to the ISUPK and getting drowned out by the IUIC. There was nothing productive about it. You know? Hey, the scriptures say, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So there was no productivity. And plus you had this Christian Jake that follows, which lead me to believe that was somewhat of a setup, like he happened to be there and film the whole thing, and then he's laughing. You know, what if a couple of people got shot and killed? Would you still be? You probably would be laughing. The Christians hate us. Christians hate Israelites. That's a topic right there. So anyway, let me go ahead and let me just read some of this. So the Lord was instructing his men to go and get the coat, the ass coat. And if a man asks you, why do ye lose him? And thus saith the Lord, because the Lord hath need of him. And as they were losing the coat, the owners thereof said unto him, why loose ye the coat? And they said, the Lord have need of him. And they brought him to Yahushua, and they cast their garments upon the coat, and they set Yahushua thereon, and as he went, they spread their clothes in the way. And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise the Most High with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen. They seen spiritual power, saying, blessed be the King that cometh in the name of Yahweh, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, talking to the Lord, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. So there had to be praise going out. So it says, 41st verse, and when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. Now, you know why he wept over it. And he told them what was going to happen, what would they do? What what thing should they do? 42nd verse, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. So what he was saying was, if you was following me and going by my sayings and believe that I was a Messiah, you would get the inside information that the Romans is coming to kill as many Israelites as they could. So they didn't get it. So guess what? A lot of those wicked scribes and Pharisees, they got jacked up. They got killed. If they were in Jerusalem, they didn't give a damn. They were high priests and so forth. And I'm gonna go into a little bit of the history, right? And that's one account of. By the way, this is also a fulfillment of Deuteronomy 28. You can start from the 50th verse and read down. It mentions the word siege. So Moses, the prophet, Moses was a man of the Lord, a prophet, and a king. The first king of Israel was Moses, although he was not coordinated as king because he came back as David anyway, but he was a prophet. So the Heavenly Father showed him, when the Romans besieged Jerusalem. So he wrote about it. When you read Deuteronomy 28, as I said in previous videos, it's not talking about one event. You can't say, well, from the 16th verse to the end, it's talking about this one event. No, it's talking about many events under different captivities. The Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Romans, and over here in America. So we're still under the curses of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. We're still under those curses to this day. It says among the nations with an S. So scholars, but some of the scholars will tell you that it's different. They'll mention the Assyrians and they'll mention the Romans, but they won't mention, the modern age where we're living in, hardcore slavery, the antebellum slavery. Antebellum means before the war, before the Civil War. Antebellum slavery. So it says here in the 43rd verse, it says, for the days shall come upon thee that thine enemies. So he's giving them up. He's telling them that the Romans, but he didn't mention the Romans. He said your enemy's gonna come and jack you up. But they will look, man, we're connected to God. What enemy are you talking about? They even said in John chapter 8, when the Lord went back and forth with him, they said, we never been in captivity. What the hell are you talking about? You was in captivity while you made that statement under the Romans. You were tributaries to the Romans. It said, for the days shall come upon thee that thine enemies, which is talking about not all the various nations, but the Romans, they were in power, shall cast a trench about thee and compass, circle thee round and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. So the Lord is saying, the enemies are going to come, they're going to kill you and your children, and they're going to cause you to commit the act of cannibalism, and they're going to kill the rest of you. And it says, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. The visitation was what? The fact that the Romans were going to come. Now it says in, I believe it's Luke 21. Let me go to Luke 21. Let me go to Luke 21. Matter of fact, let me stay in this. I want to deal with the word trench. I want to deal with the word trench. And I'm gonna show you where I'm getting at in a minute. You familiar with that word? The word there is Greek word karax. Karax. Let me let you hear it. Psalms G 5482. It's a root word to charagma. Now, you know, we've been teaching about the charagma, that the word goes back to the karax. So what does this karax have to do with Revelation 13, 16, and 17, you say? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, well, we're going to make it make sense in a minute. This is a karax. A palisade, a rampart, pales between which earth, stone, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. So now check this out. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me do this. Before I jump the gun, I'm going to go into the, I'm gonna go to Cambridge. I notice IUIC, they now use the commentary now. Where you think they got it from? But they will never give me credit. Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges, 43, verse 43. Luke 19, verse 43. The days often used to of troublous times, which, by the way, when Jerusalem was besieged by the Romans, that was not the time of Jacob's trouble. The time of Jacob's trouble is yet to come. Troublous times, like the Latin tempora, shall cast a trench, which is a karax, about thee, rather shall surround thee with a what? A palisade. Isaiah 29, 3 and 4. And I will camp against you round about and will lay siege against you with a mount, and I will raise forts against you. This pretty much says something similar. So this is from the Septuagint. Literally fulfilled 40 years after at the siege of Jerusalem. So when the Lord said that, it came to pass 40 years after. So if those guys, those scribes and Pharisees and priests, if they were in their 20s, the siege came about when they were in their 60s. So they was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? He was talking all that shit, he's dead now. What the hell are you talking about? We knew he wasn't the Messiah. I told you it was sin. When Titus surrounded the city first with a palisade. Look up the word palisade in the Greek, goes back to karax, which is a stake. Like when you kill the vampire, you put a stake through his heart. You take a piece of dollar wood, you cut it on the bias to make it sharp, and you stick it in his heart, which is a myth. That's how they build fences. The skeleton of a wall was built with that palisade. It's a palisade mount, Valum and Agar, and then with a wall of masonry. Keep thee in on every side. The blockade established was so terribly rigid, strong. That wall was so strong. Jerusalem had a wall around it. The Romans built a wall around that wall, and they couldn't come out. And they knew they were going to starve to death. They're going to commit the act of death. That shows you that this man's a fucking devil. The mystery of iniquity that already worked. He's a wicked one. That's the wicked. The Romans are the descendants of Edomites. The blockade established was so rigid, was so terribly rigid that myriads of Jews perished of what? Starvation. But what were they doing? They were eating their the little ones. That's the fulfillment of Deuteronomy 28, 52, 53, around there. I'm not going to go to it. Moses actually mentions the word siege, right? So now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something. And blow this up. Let me open this up. Okay, this is from InfoWars, on Odyssey, right? So I'm not gonna let it play, but this is one of the presenters on that show, and this is, I guess, this is supposed to be the Mexican border, where they built a retaining wall or wall. But if you notice, you know what I'm gonna do? You see the barbed wire, right? You see this right here? I'm gonna get a better picture of this. How are we gonna do this? Get a better picture. Okay. I think you can see. You see the bar? Okay, you see that? That's a metal piece, but it's got barbed wire around it. And then you got masonry. You got stone, mortar, different stones, because that's the skeleton of it. Let me do something. Let me get it. Okay, here's even a better picture. So you see the fencing, right? You see the piping over here. You see the barbed wire. You see that fence? That a fence like that, they can tear down. You can't tear this down. That's why the people inside of Jerusalem couldn't escape, because they couldn't push their way out. It said they made the wall so rigid that they couldn't break out. So this right here is a pole, look like metal, but the Romans used wood stakes or palisades, and you stick it in the ground, and then what you do, you build around it with rocks and so forth. And when it dries up, you can't break it. You can't break it. You're stuck in there. You couldn't break through. So I said, I noticed that. So I said, well, let me do a little quick video on that so you can get the understanding. So they're going to use the Karax again. They're going to use the pell again, but this time they're going to stick it in you. So, that's the scriptures coming to life. You read these precepts and you don't put a picture in your head. That's why if you ask a Christian, an average Christian, what does Luke 19:43 mean? You can start up a couple of verses. They're not going to get it unless they are schooled. They're Bible historians. They'll get it. So Christians don't. These Christians that come up against us, they don't even. No, the Lord came for everybody, because they're idiots. They're fucking idiots. Complete idiots, man. And see, vocab, he knows better. He just wants to keep those people that follow him stupefied, if that's a word. If it's not a word, I just made up another word, stupefied. And let me come over here real quick. I took a little short subject and I kind of stretched it out. Let me go to Luke 21, I believe. 21. And I did videos like this on this subject before, but I just noticed that picture, that video at the border, so to speak. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, this is what I wanted. I'm gonna close. All right, things to come. By the way, you have a group of people that's called, what's the term? Eschatologists, or they deal with a thing called eschatology, which means the study of the Bible, that all the prophecies came to pass already. The book of Revelation, it already came to pass. when you check out the book of Revelation, John was the only of the 12 that didn't die, that didn't get put to death. The rest of them were put to death. He was a lone apostle. And now it doesn't tell, it might say it in the scriptures 96 or 100 AD, but all the experts, all the Bible experts and historians and scholars, they all agreed that when John was on the Isle of Patmos, John the Apostle, that it had to be somewhere around the time of when this guy was ruling, what's his name? Domitian, which was the younger son of Vespasian, and it was him, I believe, that sentenced him to the Isle of Patmos to work on the salt mines, and he was up in age. So that right there kills that whole eschatology BS. So now it says here things to come, right? What do I want? Okay, so when you read Luke 21, some verses is talking about the siege of Jerusalem, 70 AD, and some verses are talking about things that are getting ready to happen. So you got to know you got to know what verse is talking about what time period. So this is what I want. Now jump down all the way down to 20th verse. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, and we just read that in Luke 19:43, right? Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And the desolation is a fulfillment of Daniel chapter 9. The abomination that maketh desolate, the Lord spoke about. The abomination that maketh desolate. And then he's talking about the Antichrist. No, it's talking about the Roman Empire, Roman armies, surrounding, building a wall about Jerusalem. And after everybody was dead, they tore the city down and they raided the treasury. So you have that triumphal arch called the Arch of Titus that the younger brother commissioned to be built in memory of his older brother. And when you look at that picture, you could see them looting the treasury, taking the horns, the golden altar, the money, the religious relics. This devil took it, man. So that's what it meant by the abomination that maketh desolate, which was the fulfillment of Daniel chapter 9. You got these dumbass Christians, 7-year period, tribulation period, in the midst of the year, the Antichrist. No, that already took place. Even you so-called Christian scholars teach that same nonsense. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this in a minute, but let me continue to read this. Then know that the desolation or the abomination that maketh, because the Romans were an abomination, that maketh desolate, that destroys things, therefore is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. So they fled into Europe, they fled into Africa. And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein, because the Romans are going to kill you. You go in, you're going to get put to death. And that was during the time of the Passover. So you had a lot of Israelites coming in there. That's why he said, you Israelites from other countries don't come in. But they didn't listen. Some of them listened, some of them didn't listen. It said, for these be the days of vengeance. What are they getting vengeance on? What we did to them, King David and the kings of Israel did to the Edomites. So that's payback. So they knew that they were Edomites. The elite did. That all things, which the elite do right now, they know that they're the Edomites. They know that they're going into captivity. that all things which are written may be fulfilled. What was fulfilled? Daniel 9:1. But woe unto you that to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Woe unto you that have toddlers and infants. This is not talking about now. You can have triplets, quadruplets, and toddlers all over the place. Because the Lord, the angels are going to come and the Lord's going to deliver us with our babies. You got infants, you got pregnant women that's going to be beamed up. You're going to have women with infants that's going to be beamed up. You're going to have toddlers that's going to be beamed up. It says, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for these shall be there, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon the people. The wrath is coming from who? The Roman armies. 24 verse, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and the Israelites shall be led away captive into all nations. Now you got this clown Vocab Malone talking about, he doesn't even mention it, but he's an apologist for the JJs. That means anywhere you go on the planet Earth, when, Christopher Columbus came to the New World, and, the whole planet is pretty much populated by people, right? Out of one of the three sons of Noah. So they would have to be, if we were scattered throughout the whole world, or most of the world, let's say, they had to have, Christopher Columbus had to found some small hats, walking around, pasty small hats. There was no, Christopher Columbus did not encounter any pasty small hats. When they went down into Central and South America, they didn't find no pasty small hats. When they went into Canada, which was Gad country, they didn't find no small hats. When they went into Africa, there was no community of small hats. No community. So that's what's the term? That's conjecture. Conjecture. Yeah, you cannot say, oh, see, the JJs went to the land of Israel in 48, and that's a fulfillment. And what did it mean that they came from all over the world? They came from Europe. That ain't the world. Africa is part of the world in the Oikoumene sense. Canada, United States, Central and South America, that's the world. The Aborigines, there should be a group of pasty small hats, JJs down there. So the walls are closing in on you devils, man. And you ain't gonna stop this thing. You ain't stopping the what do you call it? The juggernaut. Look up the word juggernaut. This is a juggernaut. You can't deal with this vocab. You can't deal with this. You can get all them Uncle Tom niggas you want. They got little cameras filming shit, talking shit, and laughing, but you ain't gonna stop this, man. There's gonna be a day when Yahweh Ba'ashem is gonna show himself with the angels, and he's gonna fuck this place up, and he's gonna deliver the elect. He's not delivering everybody. He's not delivering everybody. Let me see something. Let me see what the commentary says about this. Let me go to the 23rd verse and maybe the 24th verse. I always go into this subject from time to time. Put the E there. I will give suck in those days. Let's see what they say. Let's see what they say about it. Okay, let's see what this Eliot's commentary has to say. Great distress in the land, literally great need and necessity, the word which St. Luke uses as equivalent of tribulation is not found in other gospels, blah, blah, blah. It didn't really tell me nothing. Didn't really tell me nothing. Okay, let's see. Let's do it this way. Normally go to Cambridge Bibles. Woe to them that are with child give suck. The woe is only a expression of pity for them because their flight would be retarded and rendered impossible. Yeah, the kids will hold you back. Wrath is come upon them to the uttermost. Josephus says that when there were no more to plunder or slay after incredible slaughter and miseries, Titus, oh, they got it right. Titus ordered the city to be razed, that no stone may be left upon another, so completely as to look like a spot which had been never inhabited. So they got it right. They mentioned Titus. Let me do this. I just put ROM. Okay, they don't want to say Rome. Okay, here it is. Okay, Matthew Poole's commentary. Hey, this is why the IUIC uses a commentary. They said, man, man, you be going into that commentary. We're going to use that commentary too. They always watching us. Let me go trodden down by the Gentiles. The Romans, Saracens, Franks, and is at this day trodden of the Turks, the Franks, the Saracens. These are all Edomites, part of the Roman Empire. Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Some from this text think that there shall be a time when the Jews shall possess the city of Jerusalem. Whether any such thing can be from hence gathered, time of the Gentiles. Right, time of the Gentiles be fulfilled is talking about now because they've been in there since 2,000 years ago. It says, as the Jews have filled up their measure, and now the wrath of the Most High is come upon them to the utmost, so the Gentiles shall have their time also. The Romans have had their time. The Turks, right, which are Edomites, now have their time. But now it's talking about the Romans. But their glass is also running out. That's bringing us up to date. Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, there will be a fulfilling of their time too. And whether then another sort of barbarians shall possess it, or the Jews or Christians shall recover it, time must interpret. They didn't really understand that. Or either they're scared to say it, come out and say it. Luke 21 and 23 is talking about the Romans, that not the Assyrians, not the Babylonians, not Egypt. It was talking about the Romans. Thy enemies are the Romans at that time. And they're back here again. This is the second leg of the Roman Empire. Now, let me do this. Let me go to Daniel 9. Let me go 20. Let me put in 26. And after 3 scores, I'm not going to read all that. I'm not going to do the math. So, okay, he said, and he, Daniel 9:27, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, and the Christians will say, well, that's a 7-year tribulation period. In the middle of that, the Antichrist is going to come. So this is getting ready to happen. Nope, this already happened. He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. That happened 2,000 years ago. And for the spreading of abomination, he shall make it desolate. The Romans are the abomination, the desolation. They're going to destroy our stronghold, even until the consumption, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. We're going to be desolated, if that's a word. But now let me see what they say. Let me see what they say about this. See, they went off. They went off. It says, and for half of the week, sacrifice and meal offering, alluding to the suspension of the temple service by Antiochus. Nope, they went off on that. It has nothing to do with it has absolutely nothing to do with Antiochus Epiphanes. It should say Rome. Okay, I think we found something. Okay, this is damn. Okay, Benson commentary. I'm gonna go right to the point. And for the overspreading of abomination, he shall make it desolate, or more literally, and he shall be a desolator by the wing of abomination, or and being a desolator, right? The Romans are the Roman armies are the desolated. He shall command over a wing of abomination. The desolator is the Roman army of 60,000 men. So that was a lot of 60,000 men. That's we're talking 9 legions or something like that. Right. They got it right. They got it right. Rome, Roman standard, Romans upon the flight. So they got it right. And see, these commentators, they contradict each other. One of them mentioned Antiochus, they were way off. So Benson commentary, they were on point. And you notice they didn't mention Antichrist. Let me see if they say Antichrist. Okay, they say Antichrist right here. Ellicott, and he shall confirm the subject of the sentence is ambiguous, makes it to be 1 week. The Septuagint, the covenant, others take it to be the anti-Christian prince spoken of in the, well, they say anti-Christian prince. Well, the anti-Christian prince would be the Roman, would be Titus, which they don't mention him. They don't mention Rome. See, they keep mentioning Antiochus, which they're clearly off. Okay, right here mentions Antichrist, saying that we must conceive of this from the correction, namely that which brings to the power of Antichrist to its height. They're totally off. And Paul said that ye all speak the same thing. These Christians are not, they speak different. Say it again, Antichrist again. So anyway, man, that's all I got. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.